So it's fair to say that that is quite a lot of coaches. In fact, there are 56 coaches in all, and it's all the layout can take. As you can see, the back of the train meets the front of the train here, so I can't possibly fit any more coaches onto the layout. Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another one of my crazy experiment videos. Now if you've been following the channel for a little while, you might be familiar with some of the other experiments I've done. The first and most popular one was the endurance run, where I saw exactly how long a loco could run for, and it was quite interesting. I think the results might shock you, so if you haven't seen that already, I'll put up a link right now. Then the second one was, of course, to find out how fast a model train could run, and I built a monstrosity. I built a Frankenstein loco in order to try and test that out. And then the third one was to find out whether locomotives could work underwater, and of course they could. And again, if you want to check that one out, again, they're silly experiments, but if you want to see it, there's a link up there for you. But today I wanted to do something a little bit different, something I've never tried before, and that is to talk about strength and the pulling force of locomotives. Basically, I want to build the most powerful double O gauge locomotive. I was going to say steam locomotive, it's certainly not going to be steam. I want to try and build the most powerful double O gauge loco that has ever existed. Quite a bold claim, and I don't really have any way of validating whether or not I'm actually going to be able to do that. However, I need to have some idea of what I'm up against. So the first thing I did was to look at some existing locos. Here's 5 that I picked. I consider these 5 to be relatively powerful. And as you can see, I've chucked in a couple of steam locos there to test out their pulling strengths. So here's the setup. I started with 9F Evening Star and I hooked her up to my Newton meter, and she measured in a pulling force of 0.45 newtons, which might surprise you. It's not an awful lot, that. So then I moved on to my Wren Duchess, which is a very, very heavy model, mostly die-cast in fact. And yes, the pulling force of that was much higher, 0.72 newtons, that one. And then I moved on to some of the diesels. I started off with probably the weakest of my diesels with 2 driven bogies, and the Bachmann Class 66 beat the steamers at 0.88 newtons of pulling force, so we're getting quite high now. They're certainly starting to increase. The next loco I tested was the Helgen Class 52, the Western, and to start with, the coupling came straight out when I tried to power that, as you can see, typical really of the poor quality of Helgen. But the next time I did it a little bit more gently, and I managed to get a reading of 0.94 newtons, which of course is the strongest yet, it's the most forceful yet. And then, of course, the pinnacle of them all, it was the V-Trains Class 37. Now, not only is this a really, really heavy model, but it's also got rubber traction tyres on some of its wheels, meaning that the pulling force is absolutely insane. And sure enough, when I first measured this, as you can see, it pulled itself out of my hand, more or less. Very, very, very powerful. Then I measured it again, gripping onto the meter a little bit more tightly, and I noticed that it was in fact off the scale, which meant that I had to change the Newton meter to one with higher values on it. So this is a 1 to 10 Newton meter now. And as you can see, the V-Trains Class 37 produced a massive, mighty pulling force of 2.6 newtons, which is by far the most powerful I was able to measure. I don't know whether that's the strongest loco in the world in double O gauge. I'll probably say not, but I think it's probably the strongest I've got in my collection. So there's the sort of rough range that we're working with there. But as you know, I want to try and exceed that. I want to try and build a loco that can pull much, much more than that V-Trains Class 37. So the problem is, I think, is the actual track itself. Now, as you can see, the rails themselves are very, very smooth. So at some point, no matter how much weight there is in the loco, or no matter how much rubber you put on the wheels, there is going to come a point where the force is too much and the loco is going to wheel slip, right? We saw that with the V-Trains Class 37. So I've decided that my engine is not going to use the rails themselves. It's going to use them to pick up power, but that's it. It's actually, for its locomotion, is going to be using the sleepers themselves. So there you go, that's an interesting idea for you. So I have created another Frankenstein. I've created another monstrosity, which I'm about to reveal to you. Now, this thing is not a model. This is not a double O gauge model. This is a full-sized locomotive designed so that double O gauge is its native gauge. So it's not a model. And here it is, and I like to call this thing Speedy Pete. Now, this thing is really, really weird. As you can see, if I flip it over, you can see there are no wheels on this model, which definitely sets it apart from other locomotives. And as you can see, this locomotive is chain driven. We've got this large chain that encases the entire locomotive. And there are, of course, chain driven locomotives out there, such as the Bullitt Pacifics and things, but this is a much more literal version of chain driven. And if I show you a close-up of the chain itself, you can see that there are these tiny little nibs that I've soldered onto that chain, and they're designed to dig in between the sleepers and cause an awful lot of pulling force. So we're going to see how this thing works. As you can see, there are plates on the underside which pick up power, and then there's these little, I don't know what you'd call them, feelers I suppose, which sort of flap down onto the track and they help to pick up power. So this thing should be pretty reliable. So will it work? I must say I have tested this, but you've not seen it work yet. So let's get Speedy Pete down onto the track and see if he does. Okay, so Speedy Pete is now down onto the track, and some of you might be wondering why I call this Speedy Pete and not just, well, Pete. Well, this is why. Here we go. Now, he's not crawling at this speed. This is actually half speed. He can actually do quite a crawl, although it looks as though he's stopped. Oh, he has stopped. Anyway, yes, so it's a bit rough and ready, is this, but if I get you some close-up shots of this working, you can see that it does actually work pretty well. It's pretty reliable. So you might be thinking that, frankly, it's a miracle that this thing works at all, but obviously it's got to do a little bit more than just work. We want this thing to be the most powerful locomotive I've ever had on the railway. It needs to be even more powerful than the V-Train's Class 37. So in order to test that, obviously it needs a coupling, and I've created this device, which is supposed to fit onto the back. And yes, it's very, very rough and ready, just like the rest of it, really. In fact, I love how sort of clumsily cobbled together this whole thing is. But if I'm careful, I should be able to hook this machine, well, this adapter rather, onto the back, and it now has a Bachmann coupling on the back, which just sits on here and it's nice and flexible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Newton meter, I'm going to hook this up to that coupling, and this will be the first time I've ever measured the pulling power, and I don't know what's going to happen when we start putting some serious force onto this. So I'll move the camera and we will find out. Crikey, I'm actually a bit worried about this. I'm frightened that something might shoot off it and poke me in the eye. Yeah, because this is a very, very powerful motor and gearbox, and it's got obviously a very heavy metal chain on it. But we will see. So, the first ever strength test. I don't know what this is going to show. I'm on the 0 to 10 Newton scale here, so it should be large enough to take it. So, here we go then. Let's give this a little try. Go on, Speedy Pete. Show us what you can do. Ooh. Well, he stops there. It's cut out, unfortunately, at 4.6 newtons. Let's see if I can give it a nudge. Oh, there's 6. Oh, blimey. Right, let's cut that off. I saw 6 newtons. I was not expecting it to go to 6 newtons. That is unbelievable. So let's plot that into the graph then. There it is. Wow, that is insane. That is absolutely bonkers. But of course, what does that mean? What sort of pulling power is that? What will that look like in coaches and wagons? Well, let's get 1 or 2 coaches out, shall we? And let's find out. Okay, so it's fair to say that that is quite a lot of coaches. In fact, there are 56 coaches in all, and it's all the layout can take. As you can see, the back of the train meets the front of the train here, so I can't possibly fit any more coaches onto the layout. And we have Bullman on the back there because, of course, there wouldn't be a very long train without Bullman involved somehow. So, I've done the big long trains before, right, and I know that these don't tend to work very, very well. In fact, I'll be very surprised if we get Bullman to move at all, because there's just so many coaches and so much weight there. So I will be just looking for any movement at all, really, in Bullman. If we can get him to shift forwards any amount, then we will consider this a success. But, Speedy Pete, I hope you're ready for this, mate. I really do. So let's try and get him coupled. There we go, that looks coupled to me. Good luck, Speedy Pete. This will probably make you the most powerful loco I've ever seen on the layout to date. Okay, a little bit of power then. What do you reckon, folks? Do you think he'll be able to do it? Let's find out. So Speedy Pete is moving. I'm keeping it slow. Not seen any movement in Bullman yet. In fact, I might have to take Bullman off. Ah. Okay, the slack has been taken up so much that Bullman has been displaced. So we'll take it down to 55 coaches and put Bullman on again. Right, I'm just going to make sure this is still all in shot. Okay, that's better. Okay, take it away again, Pete. Keep going. Keep taking away the slack. Good Lord. Oh, it worked. Did you see Bullman? It's not happy. My word, that is crazy. Can you believe that? Let me get some shots of this whole thing moving if I can. So here's a shot of Gordon's Hill. And as you can see, the coaches are moving there. So as you can see, there's no nonsense going on here. No other engines helping out or anything like that. We really have got coaches all the way around the room. And if I hold the camera still, you can see that they are moving. Oh, well, they're not right now. Come on, Pete. Yeah, he doesn't seem to... He's not very stable at the massive loads, but as you can see, he is moving the train. That's unbelievable. So I'm amazed that this is actually working and not just pulling all the coaches off the track. It does keep stopping. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to like it very much. But yeah, it's astonishing that it's actually working. Come on, Pete, I know you're tired. So that's it. That's the extreme coach test. I think that's considered a success, and we're going to probably have to stop now because he won't like these points. So, the other thing that Speedy Pete can do is he can manage incredible gradients, that is, hills on the track, slopes. So let me demonstrate a little bit of that for you, just to finish off the video. Okay, so without traction tyres, most locos can't take very much of a gradient at all. So as you can see, I've got this board set at a bit of an angle. I have tried to measure the angle. It's not going to be very accurate, but it's approximately 5 degrees, I think, if I've managed to measure that right. And as you can see, when I try that, Evening Star here cannot even haul Bullman up the slope. If I give him a nudge, you can see, yeah, it's way too steep for Evening Star to even think about managing. Yeah, even if I give that a big ram. Let's speed it up just to absolutely double check. But now let's see if Speedy Pete can do it. And of course he can. Go on then, Pete, take it away. And as you can see, he does it without losing traction at all. In fact, he's got perfect traction. So we don't want to do 5 degrees though, do we? We want to do 45 degrees at the least. So let's try and increase the slant a bit, shall we? Okay, so this is looking frightfully steep now, so I've angled it up quite a bit more, and again, slightly inaccurate measurement, but we're starting to approach approximately 25 degrees there, which does look very, very steep indeed for a railway track. Go on then, Pete, see if you can do it. And once again, with zero problems, he's managing to pull Bullman up there absolutely perfectly. So, let's get it even steeper. Right, so I'm sure you'll agree this is starting to get a bit ridiculous now. If my measurement is to be believed, we're starting to approach 40 degrees. We're at about 35 degrees there, and this is getting crazy. I think this is now way beyond what any standard loco could do, even with traction tyres. So, Pete, can you do it? Let's see. All right, yes he can. I'm worried that he's going to slide all the way down. But it's not happened yet. He's still doing it with zero problems. This is insane. Well, I don't know how much more I can slant this piece of wood, but I suppose I'll give it a try. My good God, 45 degrees seems a lot larger when you see a loco on it. So yeah, we have basically gotten to 45 degrees, very, very approximately. I really can't believe that this thing is not going to just slide all the way down as soon as I try to move this. I'm sure that's what's going to happen, but will he be able to pull Bullman up at all at this kind of angle? Well, let's see. Go on, Pete, give it some. And the answer is yes. Whoa! Oh, look at that. Shall we give that one more try? I think that deserves one more go, if Speedy Pete's still up to it. Okay, folks, I don't really think Pete's okay after that. One of his pickup feelers has been quite badly bent. Yeah, he wasn't designed to take any falls, as you can probably tell. But we will give it one last try. We'll give it one final attempt. And I've made the camera angle a bit more entertaining, so if he falls again, which I think he will, we'll get it at least on camera. So, I think we've reached the limits. It seems that he has got the power to pull Bullman up this sort of angle, but if there's one single nudge, or if one of the little pieces on the chain doesn't quite dig into the sleepers properly, that's it, he's going to drop. So, go on, Pete, one more try. Let's see if you can do it. Ah, he's not actually got any power. That's not good. Go on, Pete. One more try. Ah, gosh. That wasn't good. Right, try it again, Pete. You see, his pickups are not working properly, are they? Come on, wake up. Yeah, one of them's not even touching the track. I think this might be the end of the road for Speedy Pete, folks. Come on. Yeah, the problem is gravity's no longer pulling these pickups down. Man. Oh, Bullman's coming off. Yeah, the problem is gravity's not on our side anymore, obviously. Yes, I think Bullman's actually derailed there. Let's see if I can fix that. There we are, that looks better. Right, bit more power. Whoa. Yep, I think it's over, folks. Well, let's have one last look at old Pete then. So, do you think this is the world's strongest model train? To be honest, I've never seen a stronger one, but then again, there's a lot of model trains out there that I have never seen. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Equally, if you think you know of a stronger model train, or if, more importantly, you think you can build a stronger model train, do so and send me a video and I will take a look. But for the time being, from me and from Speedy Pete here, I think that is it. Whether he'll work again, I don't know. He certainly didn't like that falling down the mountain there. But other than that, thanks for watching, folks. I do hope you enjoyed that. Keep the ideas coming on the challenges I can try, and I will certainly try them. But for now, folks, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Cheers, everybody.